Tanzania to participate in the Africa Heads of State Energy Summit on January 27 to 28, 2025. The summit, hosted by the government of Tanzania in collaboration with the African Development Bank Group and the World Bank, aims to advance Mission 300, an initiative to provide electricity access to 300 million people in Africa by 2030. In Dar es Salaam, African leaders, private sector leaders, development partners, and civil society groups will strategize to accelerate energy access across the continent. The summit will provide a platform for sharing knowledge, expertise, and resources to address Africa's energy challenges. Discussions will focus on accelerating energy access in underserved regions, renewable energy, energy efficiency, and mobilizing private sector investment. On the first day at the ministerial level, participating countries, including Nigeria, will present their national energy strategies termed Compact, detailing their approaches to achieving universal energy access with 5 years. On the second day, heads of state will endorse the Dar es Salaam Energy Declaration, outlining a unified roadmap for Africa's progress towards the Mission 300 objectives. President Bola Tinubu will deliver a national statement reaffirming Nigeria's commitment to achieving universal access to energy and its leadership role in Africa's energy sector. He will also highlight Nigeria's ongoing clean energy initiatives and its strategy to drive integrated energy delivery in the continent. Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Bianca Odumego Ojukwu, Minister of Power Adebayo Adelabu, the Special Advisor to the President on Energy Olu Verjen, and other senior government officials will accompany President Tinubu on the trip. He will return to Abuja after the summit. For some time now, news about tanker crashes have filled the airspace with figures of death and casualties on the space with figures of death and casualties on the high side. Most disturbing is the fact that causes of deaths and injuries when these tankers crash are not actually because of the accident, but due to the scoping and siphoning activities the people engage in. Here is our correspondent, Oyemi Ajayi, who tells us more about these and preventive measures from the government, the safety agencies involved, and the people themselves. The report.
The 26th of April 2024, a tank crash at Apajo One Eleme River State involving 70 vehicles killed 5 people. 8th September, the same year at the Pai, Niger State, there was a similar issue which involved 4 vehicles and 49 people lost their lives. 13th of October was another black day, especially in Lagos State, where a tanker crashed involving 3 vehicles and 1 motorcycle, claimed 6 lives. The most disturbing was on the 16th of October in Jigawa State, where a crashed tanker exploded after scooping activities by the villagers ignited an inferno, killing almost 200 people. Recently, the Niger State explosion that killed scores of people, leaving many others injured. The locals had rushed to the scene with generators to siphon fuel from the tanker, hence triggering the explosion.
And even this one that just happened last Saturday in Mina, we are on the process. We have done the preliminary investigation. We are trying to conclude fire service and NEMA, and we are coming together to see that at least wherever we have FRC zebra point, we should have also a fire service point, so that if such incidents happen, while FRC is there to condone, the police to provide security, fire service will be there to also be able to protect that fire doesn't occur.
In the face of strict certification of tanker drivers and proper inspection of trucks and vehicles, it has been discovered that bigger tanks have been constructed to the trucks, hence compromising the safety standards of the articulated trucks for fuel haulage, aside the fact that most of the trucks that get involved in crashes do not belong to any organization, association or unions. As it is said, once a tanker crashes, people there should run far away from the location, safe enough to make calls to concerned emergency agencies. Oyemi Ajayi, NTA News.
Reports on waste management. Activities of the Edo State Waste Management Board is set to receive a significant turnaround as the state government has provided it with conducive working machines to serve the public better and in line with the state government's focus of ensuring a cleaner environment. Goodluck Enaini reports that the event took place at the Government House.
Keeping Edo clean and making the environment habitable for investors has, for some time now, become a challenge, despite several measures taken. For the present administration, the dream of keeping Edo clean is realizable, hence the move by the state government in donating new set of equipment. Lucky Enahita Inegbenehi is the head of the State Waste Management Board.
You have set a high standard for leadership, and your dedication inspires us to do our part. Together, we can do. And the era of deliverables is upon us.
Governor Pewolo was accompanied by other top government officials to the commissioning at the premises of the board within Government House. The governor, who recently boasted that his administration is set to ensure a cleaner environment, said the new Edo will serve as a motivation to investors and charge staff of the board protect the equipment, which include payloaders, compactors, tippers, and others are used for the benefit of the people. Observers believe with more commitment and dedication on the side of government and the citizens, Edo will be a destination to behold. In Benin, Goodluck Enaini, NTA News.
Reports have it that Nigeria annually produces an estimate of 32 million tons of solid waste, but only 20 to 30% of this amount is properly collected and managed. Being one of the states in Nigeria with a large population of city dwellers, Edo State capital Benin also faces challenges of improper waste disposal and management, which many believe that substantial waste volume presents opportunities for secular economic venture. Ifeoma Okafor has details of this in the report on transformative initiative and the positive impact.
Waste disposal is a critical issue that affects environment, health, and economy of the society. However, the rapid growth of urban population and the increasing human activities is said to have contributed to a significant rise in waste generation, which includes Benin City, the capital of Edo State. Meanwhile, the cheering news is that there are reports of how waste materials can be valuable resources and unlock their potential from waste to wealth. By adopting waste wealth approach or transformative initiative, there will be reduction in waste disposal costs, generation of revenue, creation of job opportunities, and above all, promote sustainable development.
Waste management and waste recycling goes together. And so the society, the business community should be aware, and the orientation should be given on how to turn waste to wealth. And then it cuts across government, individual, and the business community. So, for instance, if you produce waste in your home, you have a secluded place where you gather them, so that they don't just litter the community and the environment.
It is hoped that the states and the concerned agencies will embrace the transformative initiative of waste to wealth, which will support growth of the state economy. In Benin, Ifeoma Okafor, NTA News.
And to discuss more on this, we have here live in the studio with us Alhaji Bashir Kadri, a retired permanent secretary of the Ministry of Agri and a strong advocate for environmental ethics. Alhaji, sir, you're welcome to Panorama.
It's my pleasure being here.
All right, like you heard from the report, we generate 20% of the estimated 32 million tons of annual total waste is properly collected and managed. That is leaving over 80% or thereof uncollected and unmanaged. What do you think happens to these other 80%?
Well, let me start by saying that we are lucky as a people that we are not susceptible to pandemics. One of the biggest challenges in waste management is when they become terribly toxic. Maybe we are lucky because our environment does not have such windows, except over time. But I want to also mention that managing your waste is a functional statement that defines who you are. Even in our homes, you can't get to a house now and find waste in the compound and want to respect the owner of the house. The first thing you think is this man must be irresponsible and dirty. So that same thing replicates to our society. So the capacity to manage your waste, describe your integrity and your person. I think I need to start from that perspective so that we don't look at it as if it's just a wild goose chase. These are fundamentals. What makes a man get respect from his community is how neat and how tidy he is, how he manages his environment. You cannot find a man on the street and he says he's a millionaire looking dirty. You can't respect him. So first again, that explains what happens to our society. In our own state here, and I think across the country too, we need as a people to deliberately design our program on waste management. My dear, if you know how much money you can make from waste, you will be shocked. Some other climb in the world, what they are currently doing now is recycling. Even up to waste in your septic tanks are being managed. There's no longer waste in those countries. Those waste in your septic tank are now being recycled, are being used as utility water in the compound. That explains to you how people have gone. So I think very clearly what we are missing here is that we are still living in the very 19th century, 17th century concept of waste. We are still not giving attention to our waste management. We have deliberately or inadvertently or by default not understanding why we should give waste a frontline charge in our budgetary provision.
All right, so let's also look at the fact that you worked for years, you were the helms of affairs at the Ministry of Agri before you retired as permanent secretary. How can we transform waste now in the agricultural sector? You know, how can we transform it to?
First, let me tell you, in agriculture, there's no waste. There's no waste. If you have any waste, you have lost money. Now, let me start with oil palm. In oil palm, there's no waste in oil palm. Every item in oil palm is money making. Now, I will tell you this for free. First, you take the oil and you say, okay, that's what you want. The kernel is not a waste. The shell is not a waste. The one you call waste is actually food for pigs, and we call it cake. Now, the branches you cut off when you are doing pruning, those branches are part of what gives the soil revitalization. Now, what also happened is that even the effluents that come from that whole process is also a material for what you call biomass, where you can generate power. In some other climate, for instance, I remember that in Indonesia, that is what they use in generating power for their industry. In that industry, the oil palm industry, they use that biomass to generate power. And I also understand recently that Okomu and Presco are working on using that now to also generate power for their own industry. So where's the waste? Now, is it cassava? There's no waste in cassava. Even the peels of cassava, they are simply food for our livestock. You peel the cassava in a local home, you peel cassava and drop in the dustbin. No. Incidentally, that peel becomes a material when properly processed, dried, blended, and kept. It becomes feed for your livestock. Now, what else are you talking about? Is it tomatoes? Just mention them. There's no waste in agriculture. What we are lacking for now is the management process of those items we call waste. Yes, in some other climate of the world, there are two bins kept in the compound.
For recycling.
One is for what we call the biodegradable. Okay. And then we have what we call non-biodegradable. Non-biodegradable are like plastics, metal. They are non-degradables. They can be there for a long time. They are kept in separate container. While you have biodegradable waste from food and all of that are biodegradable. Now, when you have this separated, you can now know, oh, I have this tonnage of this kind of waste, and where do I sell it to? I have this tonnage of this kind of waste, where do I sell it to? That brings to the issue of when last did we do our, what we call home demography? When last have our states done demography of the houses in Nigeria or in our country? When last have we done that? And then do we know how many homes we have? Do we know how many materials we require? And the second item I want to mention is that if you want to manage waste properly, you must also have what we call the point where you have waste management concept, where the materials, the facilities required to manage your waste are there to transform them. You can make them and say, okay, since I have demography of my state and the houses in the state, I can now say, okay, let me use Benin. I can say, okay, I will zone Benin into four zones or 5 zones. Each of these zones will have machines that process waste. And that particular place become money making for the states. Now, you find out that people will now have a location where they will have opportunity of going to put their waste.
All right, so with all these values you have outlined, sir, concerning proper waste management, collection and management, why do you think we still have challenges, facing waste collection in Edo and in Nigeria by extension?
Yeah, I think we have not given attention to waste management. What we simply do is to give it a side talk. We need to focus on waste management. And it's a budgetary item you need to put. It's not just something you say and go to bed. It's a budget item you need to put. Now, you know that everywhere you go to, if you find some waste bins, waste spaces. Along Kore Road, there's somewhere they said is waste dump site. You do that dump site. Where are the machines in that site? Nothing. You don't just carry waste and dump in a location and say you have dumped. No. So you have to create opportunity. Make the place look properly designed for waste management. And when you have that, money will come to the state. I think we are losing so much money in our system. So much money. Look at the Hausa boys in Benin here. They are making so much money from collecting waste. They collect zincs, they collect pans, waste material, plastic and all of that. They collect them and they sell and they make money. And you see them and say they are dirty boys. They're not dirty. They're making money. So where are you standing?
Thank you very much. There you have it. We've been discussing on proper waste management and the advantages of that for the economy. And doing justice to that topic is Alhaji Bashir Kadiri, a retired permanent secretary from the Ministry of Agriculture and a strong advocate for environmental ethics. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us here on Panorama.
My pleasure. Thank
and now
you.
let's take a break. When we return, Panorama continues. This is Panorama, reaching you live from the largest television network in Africa, the NTA. The Coordinator Office of the First Lady, Edo State, Edesili Anani, has charged Association of Commodity Men and Women, as well as traders alike in the state, to see themselves as veritable agents in the rebuilding project of the new Edo of our dreams. She was speaking when the leadership of the Association of Commodity Men and Women in the state, led by Pastor Josephine Bezaye, visited her at the Government House. Good luck, NINA reports.
It is the convergence of the leadership of the Association of Commodity Men and Women from the 3 senatorial districts and the representative of the Arewa, Igbo, and the Yoruba communities. Their mission is to identify with the coordinator and intimate her with some salient issues that requires urgent attention in order to make meaningful progress. President of the group, Pastor Josephine Ibagi Zejele, identified absence of unity and respect to constituted authority as some of the challenges and appeal for government intervention.
The governor himself, His Excellency, have disbanded the union across the Edo State. I've gone around for market inspection. Some persons that are separating themselves as union head, we arrested some and others will lock up their stores.
The Coordinator Office of the First Lady described the market as catalyst in emerging economies, which is why the Okpebholo-led administration is doing all it can to change the narratives.
Once there's disagreement, the purpose in which we are there for, we can never achieve it. The narrative must change. You must have representation, and your representatives must be people that are upstanding.
Edesili, who promised to relay their message to the governor, harps on the need to keep the markets clean for a better environmental hygiene.
Hygiene is important to you, the seller, and to me, the buyer. Because what I take home affects the other people in my house, affects the other people in your house. And so when you have outbreaks, you begin to hear cholera, all those things, they are more from the things we buy.
In Benin, good luck in any NTA News.
Ekiti state government has taken steps to regulate the operations of scavengers in the state to enhance security and increase revenue drive. This is the focus of an engagement meeting with the leadership of the National Association of Scrap and Waste Dealers Employees of Nigeria, popularly known as scavengers, across the 16 local government areas in the state. Olukemi Sani reports.
They are present in most major cities in the country, combing every nook and cranny, pilfering valuables in the name of scavenging for scraps. Following the receipt of several complaints from people on the activities of these scavengers, many of them engaging in theft, vandalization, spying and releasing information to kidnappers and hoodlums, among others.
We take appropriate steps to ensure that the activities of this scavenger do not escalate into another crisis we'll be managing in the state.
Is to be sure that all these scavengers are carefully being profiled.
We should capture them under the tax net because they don't even pay tax.
We propose that we are going to give them uniform too for identification with the ID card. So the safety of our people is important to us.
The state government, reaffirming its unwavering commitment to safeguarding residents, reiterated that only registered scavengers will be allowed to do business in the state, stressing that relevant security agencies, including the police, Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, and the DSS, will be involved for enforcement. Yusuf Dangoro, a scavenger from Ikere Ekiti, pledged the readiness of the association to comply and operate within the law guiding their businesses and partner with the government in enhancing security.
As good as government do now, we are saying we're happy because any person I go for meeting or pest, or you go do battle like this, cannot come and disturb everybody. They go just pest that person and have that uniform, which they lumber.
Recommendations made at the end of this engagement meeting will be forwarded to the Ekiti State House of Assembly, where a public hearing will be held and law will be enacted for smooth operations of scavengers in the state. In Ado Ekiti, Olukemi Sani, NTA News.
And now to sports. Nigeria to battle Ireland next for a spot in the semi-finals of the Women Under-19 Cricket T20 World Cup in Malaysia. With details and more, let's join Suleiman Musa for Sports Update.